So I've been a nurse for about 6 years at a hospital in Minneapolis. Usually I work on different units every day. I'm trained in everywhere, so my typical shift can look very different. But for the past month or so, and probably for the rest of the summer, I'm pretty much just an ICU nurse. That's kind of the only place that they've been sending me. And like everyone else, it's been a pretty strange couple of months, like Mark was saying, for people working at hospitals. This is kind of just a description of what my life now looks like a little bit, but I, like a lot of my coworkers, I have a decontamination process after work. So I change clothes at work, and I change clothes once I get home, and then I go right to the shower, and among other things. And I think one of the struggles is that it's been hard for me and for other people to try to figure out what's wise or necessary to do. From the information that we have so far, I know I could likely become an asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic carrier, and likely won't know when I'm infectious, which is difficult. Our medical ICU is pretty much filled now with confirmed or suspected COVID patients. The people who are there are really sick, some of the sickest respiratory patients that we typically see. And because of this, the workload is really heavy. We're flipping many ventilated patients onto their bellies. It's called proning. It helps to increase lung function. It's a high risk procedure. It usually takes like 5 to 6 people to do. People deteriorate pretty quickly in a way that we don't typically see either. You have to be really methodical as you're coming and going between rooms so you don't contaminate yourself or other things. And simple, ordinary tasks take a lot longer than they normally would. Everyone at the hospital wears face masks from the minute they walk into the building to the minute they leave. And we're also, most of us are wearing head coverings like surgical caps and face shields as well when we're going into patients' rooms. It gets kind of hot after a while. A lot of what we're doing now, just to give you it's hard if you're not normally in that environment, but it's a lot of what we're doing now honestly would have been unthinkable a few months ago. It feels really strange, like you're living in some weird twilight zone. We've been redeploying staff to learn how to help up in the ICUs. If our number of patients jumps, an ICU nurse who typically would never have more than 2 patients could take up to 4. And we would have other staff up there to help so we could manage. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but it's a possibility. It's been happening in other places in the country. I was wearing the same N95 mask for 3 weeks because of the shortage. And each nurse gets a simple face mask to last them the whole day. And again, these are typically pretty much single-use things. Sometimes we would wear the same N95 throughout one day. We're running out of some supplies like sanitizer wipes and disposable stethoscopes. It's just very, very strange. Both at home and at work, I've become quite OCD. I'm constantly thinking about what I'm breathing on, what I'm touching, not touching my face, washing my hands before and after I touch things. It's hard for me not to be worried about my family, my household, my coworkers. A lot of my coworkers fall into high-risk categories. There are some who have started to fall sick with COVID. Not a lot, but I overheard a conversation between 2 of our ICU attendings, our doctors, about having those difficult conversations about when to withdraw care on some of these patients, and how when you're older, your risk does increase. And one of them said, I'm 63 and my daughter doesn't want to lose another parent. So anyhow, I know all that's very gloomy. I don't mean to depress you guys, but just to give you a picture of kind of an honest picture of kind of what things look like right now at my hospital and at other hospitals around the nation. On a bright side, we've been experiencing a lot of love from people in the community. People sending us free food, making scrub caps and homemade masks for us to use. The tension walking through the hospital can be palpable. People are anxious, they're stressed, they're scared, but those simple things, it's amazing how much they can ease that anxiety and bring laughter. And some joy. It's interesting too. I think I've seen how things like this, they can bring out both the bad and the good in people. It's easy to make bad decisions and get moody out of fear and frustration. But I've been seeing a different level of camaraderie and love between my coworkers. And this sounds a little dramatic, but I was wondering a little while back, like maybe this is kind of what it's like to be in a war, like going into a battle with that brotherhood or sisterhood there. There's a real sense of kinship, like we're in this together. And especially among certain people, I've seen a different kind of spirit of courage and sacrifice, which has really been inspiring. Personally, I think this takes a toll on people who are on the front lines. I mean, all of us are feeling burdened, but so I've just been feeling a little bit like I'm being pushed to my edge. My poor family, I was staying with them, would have to listen to me vent regularly when I came home. It's hard to live day by day, especially with all the news and everything. And my mind always wants to kind of jump into the future, prepare myself for hardships by planning and adjusting expectations. But I've been hearing the Lord say to me that the burdens for one day are enough. He's giving me the grace to deal with things day by day, moment by moment, and that's sufficient. And really saying to me, like, what I can give to people, I can give because he's given it to me. And that kind of tethering, that moment by moment tethering of myself to God has been on my heart and really been getting me through the days. I've been so grateful to have the chance to go to Joel's talks, to the retreat before everything shut down, because I mean, that's really what he was talking about. It's been a blessing to have that on my mind. And like Mark was saying, so one of the challenges is the intense possibility of loneliness for patients in the hospital right now. It's already scary enough dealing with illness, but then when you're by yourself and the healthcare workers, the only ones going into the room are literally like covered from head to toe in protective equipment. I was sitting with a guy and I was realizing, like, he can't tell when I'm smiling at him, right? Because of the mask on my face. He can barely see my eyes with the protective covering. My head's covered. I have a gown on. He can't even feel my hands because I have gloves. Anyways, it's just challenging. But I was thinking about how these kinds of impossible situations are kind of the Lord's specialty. At turning around, I was before Easter on Good Friday, I was just thinking about meditating about the Lord in the garden and all the sort of sorrow and loneliness he must have been experiencing. And it seemed to me, it just made me think about how everything that he experienced, right? Like joy, friendship, amusement, sorrow, all those things, thinking about how as he experienced them, he blessed them in a way and redeemed them. And because of that, like there's nothing that we experience, there's nothing that these patients are experiencing that the Lord can't use as a path to himself if we let him do that.